All right, good evening, everyone. So today we're going to we're going to talk to Alex Shandiwana. So this is Alex profile. So if you want to follow him on LinkedIn, is heavy on training, and also, as you can see, Alex is an MVP. For those guys that doesn't know what an MVP is Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. So this is an award that is given by Microsoft themselves, and it's before you can get an MVP, you will have have some relationship with Microsoft, and also I think they do a lot of interviews for you, and they look at also what you've done, your career, and also some of the community work that you might have done. So globally, I think it's almost like 4,000 MVP, and I think in the UK it's around 500 MVP. It's an elite class, to be honest, of Microsoft professionals, actually. So Alex is one of them in the UK, and we both, myself also, I'm an MVP. So, and yeah, it's really a great honor to see Alex to come and talk to us. And he's got a lot of certifications as well. So he's going to tell us how his journey started before he's able to join this elite group of MVP. And I want us to make it interactive, ask questions. And when I met Alex, he's a down-to-earth, and we've actually met him here as well. He has actually discussed some of his journey and spoken to us on Blue Sky before. So to be honest, it's something he will share with us, what he has gone through, how he was able to get his break into IT, what are the challenges, and I will want you guys to also ask questions as well. So, and yeah, one of those interesting things that Alex actually spoke to me was before, when he first landed his first contract, was like, yeah, he was even struggling to do Control and Delete. It was really funny, but he has, that was many years ago. However, I would say, if not like a decade right now. So, but you would just share what the journey was actually. So from how he started and what the challenges, to be honest, I can tell you he has faced lots of challenges, and how he was able to break through into that. So I would say that, yeah, it's an honor to have you, Alex, on this particular show. Let me call it a show. So I will give you the floor to start. Okay, thank you. So Alex, over to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Deji, for inviting me here. And thanks everyone for also joining late evening to speak to me. I appreciate it. Can I just confirm in the chat window if everyone can hear me okay? Or if you can just unmute yourself, if you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm very passionate myself about speaking to people and helping people on their learning journey. Of course, just gotta put a disclaimer, I'm not a genius, I'm still improving every day, okay? But I just wanna kind of tell you, because I understand most of you here within the internship program, which is a program I didn't have myself back in when I started my journey into tech. So you might be thinking, okay, Deji has given this intro. This guy is in the elite group of Microsoft. It's impossible. How did this guy got there, right? So from my background myself, I'm sure for some of you can hear the accent. I'm from Zimbabwe, born and bred, and came to the UK around 2001. Came as a visitor, by the way. So I'm sure some of you might know the problems you have with the Home Office, trying to get a visa, trying to get to stay in the UK. I've been through that journey myself, where yeah, you have to kind of fight for it, for you to get there. Then, yeah, I've worked into McDonald's. My first role, for some of you who are in the UK, my first role was in a McDonald's in a place called Brentwood. And at that place, I came across a manager who has been working for McDonald's for 25 years. Believe me or not, nothing wrong with McDonald's, nothing wrong working there. You still get money, you pay bills, right? But this guy told me McDonald's was one of the best companies to work for in the UK. And I was just puzzled. I was thinking, what is this guy talking about? Is this guy okay in his head? Because for me, I'm more or less thinking of going a bit more. And when I'm saying looking to go a bit more, I didn't even know exactly where that bit more I wanted to go. So yeah, looked at him. As time went on, I got to a point, I was like, you know what? That's enough. That's not for me. So I left and I got a job in Marks and Spencer. And then Marks and Spencer, I was like, okay, great. Not bad, a very good upgrade from McDonald's. I'm really happy with myself. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, things are going great. They give me a staff discount. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm getting everything I need. Yeah, at some point, it got a bit boring, I would say. It's one of my weaknesses I have even up to now. When I get bored with something, I don't like to complain about it. I like to do something about it. So if I get bored, I'll just leave and look for something else. So Marks and Spencer left and I got a job on the train company. So within this train company, my job was to be that annoying person who wakes people up in the morning. Can I see your train ticket if you got the right ticket, right? So at that point was fun. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'm making sure everyone is showing me a ticket, giving people fines. Yeah, I was enjoying it, great. Then as time went by.
That means you might have given some of us tickets.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. So believe it or not, when I was doing that job, I've always been laughing at myself because I was one of the fare dodgers. I didn't like paying for the train myself. So when I got that job, it was even funny because I was thinking, okay, all these years I used to hide around from these guys not paying for the ticket, but now I'm the one searching for them. So it was really funny. So while waiting for the train, in some cases, I had to leave the house at 4 o'clock in the morning to be able to get to work because sometimes I have to catch the very first train, whether it's going into London or it's leaving London to go outside. So as time went on, it started getting a bit cold. And I'm pretty sure some of you are kind of asking me, okay, this guy just appeared, McDonald's, Marks and Spencer. Didn't he even think about going to school or going to university? One of the things I can tell you, it's I did go to university and I went to try and do social work. Again, it's a very great career, but it wasn't for me. So I say, you know what? No, forget it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do something else. So carried on the train company. And I'm sure some of you in the UK, you know how cold it can become. It started getting cold. And one early morning, there's a place called Tottenham Hale Station. I was there and I can tell you my body was frozen. I was really cold. And I said to myself, I cannot be doing this. I need to change. How am I going to change? I don't know. So on that very same day, got home, put myself warm, went online. And for some of you, I'm saying went online. If anyone want to guess what I did when I went online, where I went actually online, please feel free to put it in the chat window. Anyone who want to guess where I went online to look for information of my next job at that point. Please feel free, guesses are very welcome. Like I said, it's a guess. Please feel free to just put it in the chat window. Anything you might think, okay, this guy went online to look for something. Okay, we have Job Center, great. Anyone else? Google, great. Anyone else? Okay, Reddit, read. Okay. Instagram. Indeed, LinkedIn. There's someone called, is it Rog Ade? You got it right. I went on Facebook. And when I went on Facebook, you know, if you don't know what you want, it's also not an easy place to look, right? So I just started searching for people who work in IT. And believe it or not, these people were not my friends. They were not my relatives. I did not know these people. I just messaged them. I said, look, I want to get into IT. Where do I go? Just like that. And I can tell you, I messaged 5 people. Out of the 5 people I messaged, 3 of them replied back on the very same day. And those 3 people said to me, okay, can you have a look at this material? So at that point, I was given SharePoint, my Office 365, I was given Azure, I was given Dynamics. I can tell you, when I was told those names, I did not know what that stuff meant. It was really a big puzzle for me. So one of the important things here, which was helpful for me, is I was just basically fearless. I just said, listen, what you're saying here, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain what you mean? Of course, I could have taken Dynamics or SharePoint and go check online, but I wanted that conversation to keep going. So these guys gave me information to read. So 2 of them said to me, I'm gonna be your mentor. I want you to go and read this and come back and tell me what you think, right? So in that first instance, yeah, I want to read it from one ear to another, looking with my eyes, it's all becoming blurry because I don't even know what I'm reading. So one of the things here is reflecting back where it was called on the morning at the station. I said to myself, I'm not going to stop, I'm gonna keep at it. So I kept pushing. And I would say after about 6-7 weeks, I started getting a bit more confident with it. At this point, I'm only knowing what's on the front end. So it's like looking on Deji's screen right now, you can see LinkedIn, but you do not realize exactly what's behind it in terms of configuration, in terms of setup, if there's any programming, what effort comes into it in terms of design. I don't understand. I'm just thinking, okay, yep, I don't understand the front end. So I kept going to these guys and they kept telling me, okay, yeah, you need to start working on understanding what's behind it. So at this point here, started looking what's behind it. Of course, it's not easy if you're starting, but I kept asking questions. For me, that was one of the major key things here, asking questions. And then what then happens after about 10 weeks now, I said to one of the guys, look, this is what I understand here. I went step by step, exactly what I've learned, what I've done. And believe me or not, this was all by Facebook messaging. There was no phone call involved whatsoever. It was just me messaging. And I can guarantee you I still have the messages up to date. So, and after 10 weeks, this guy says, okay, can you prepare a CV and send me your CV? I'll have a look at the CV. Does anyone want to guess how many pages the CV I created on my first attempt? You're talking about someone who doesn't have experience, someone who's trying to get into tech. Feel free to put in the chat window any numbers you might want to guess. How many pages you think I had for my CV? Okay, we have 1, we have 4, we have 1. Yeah, 1. Number 7 is the one. So I had 6 pages. So I had 6 pages of my CV. And I have to confess, that CV, I still have it. And most of it on that CV did not make sense whatsoever. But because I did not know, I'm thinking my CV is the best. I'm thinking, this is me now telling myself in my own head, when they see this CV, they surely will give me a job. But that CV, if I look at it now, absolutely rubbish. For any of you who want to have a look at that CV, more than happy to, just let me know. I'm more than happy to share with you guys, and you can see it yourself, exactly what I put in there. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get a job. So went to the CV to this guy who was mentoring me. So this guy on LinkedIn, His name is Martin Fenberger, and the other one is Ben Vollmer. So Ben Vollmer was a Microsoft employee. I didn't even know at that point. And Martin Fenberger was a managing director for a company called Orbis in Austria. So I sent them both my CV. I said, look at my CV. I'm ready to go. I'm all energies. I've got everything I need to get this job. The guy came back to me and said, look, I want to be honest with you, and I don't want you to take it personal, but what you have written here, myself, I wouldn't even hire you, and I wouldn't even look at the CV. What you wrote here does not mean anything. So took that on the chin. I said, okay, tell me exactly what is wrong. So he told me, okay, this is wrong. This is not meant to be there. He says, go and work on it again. And then went to work on it, came back with it from 6 pages. I got it down to 1 page. And that told me myself as well, when I was reflecting, that, okay, yeah, I've written a lot of rubbish which is not needed. So started applying for jobs. So when I started applying for jobs, first time I had a phone call from a recruiter. And does anyone want to guess what happened when the phone call rang? Please feel free to either put something in the chat window, unmute yourself, and try to guess exactly what happened when that first phone call from the recruiter came. Okay, shaking. Anyone else? So basically in this case here, I didn't know it was a recruiter's number. So we have Henry. Henry, that's the correct answer. I picked up, and when they said they're a recruiter, I cut it off because I was scared. I didn't know what to say either. So you're talking about someone who's being confident, having 6 pages of CV, being confident about what they know. At this point, when they said I'm a recruiter, I just cut it off. And then they sent me an email. Said, oh, I'm trying to reach out to you. Just said to them, I've got signal problems. I'll get back to you. And that was the end of that interaction with that recruiter, because I didn't have the confidence. I didn't know what to say to them. So a day later, another recruiter came along, the phone call rang, and I said to myself, you know what? This person here, I don't even know them. They're not even seeing who I am. Let me speak to them and see what happens. So started speaking to them, started telling them how amazing I was. Started telling them some of the things I know within Dynamics. This recruiter says to me, oh, sounds really interesting. I'll get back to you. The moment he says you get back to me, at that point, I'm like, okay, I've got the job. So 2 days after that, I didn't hear anything. And because he's told me he'll get back to me, at this point, I'm very confident. Picked up the phone call, started calling him. I can tell you I called him more than 5 times to a point whereby they started telling me the guy has left the company, because when the guys I spoke to, the guy apparently realized, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So eventually I just said, listen, I know this guy works for a company. All I'm just asking for is for feedback. I just want for him to tell me exactly what is wrong. So at this point, I'm trying to make sure I understand exactly what these guys are looking for. So we had a few interviews. So I can tell you, at that time I was based in Forest Gate, a place near Stratford. I can tell you, I've been to Southampton, I've been to Huddersfield, I've been to Manchester, I've been to Leeds, I've been to Norwich. And because at that point I'm still working at the trains, I was going by the coach. So it was a coach going to an interview. And I can tell you, all those locations I went to, I did not get the job whatsoever, but I didn't stop. So in one of the cases, I went to an interview in Leeds. And then at that point in this interview, it went completely wrong, because the questions and the answers I was giving were completely wrong. To a point, after about 10 minutes, the interview stopped and they started showing me around their offices just to kill time. So at this point, I'm thinking, great, they're showing me their offices. I've got the job. So I left the place. I'm more confident. I'm even messaging one of these guys on Facebook to say, look, I've smashed it. This is my job now. I've got something. Thank you so much. The guy was like, oh, have you got the confirmation? I was like, no. They showed me the offices and everything. Then the guy's like, no, just hold on. There's nothing like that. It has to be in written form, right? So that was one of the failures for me in terms of interviews. And what was important for me was to do the reflection. What have I done wrong? What can I work well? One of the best one ever as well, I had an interview at an organization near Chancery Lane. And at this point, the day of the interview was 9 o'clock. On this specific day, there was a TFL strike. So there were no trains, there were limited buses. So one of the things which happened here is I tried to get on the bus, but the roads were gridlocked. So I got off the bus at Stratford and started walking towards Chancery Lane. This point, I had a pay-as-you-go phone, and Google Maps doesn't work without signal, right? So I started following the crowd, and one would think, why didn't you look at the signs, isn't it? So I'm thinking, okay, following the crowd, I'm gonna get there. So I started going around in a circle. At about 10 to 9, I called the recruiter. I was like, look, I'm running late, and can we reschedule the interview because there's a strike? The guy I was talking to at that point, I can tell you the agent is Nigel Frank. The guy was like, okay, don't worry. Let me call the company. The company says, no, don't worry. He can come whenever he gets here. We're waiting for him. So eventually made it about 11:15. I go to the interview place. The interview was 9 o'clock, right? So we're in the interview, we're having a discussion. And this is one of the craziest things which happened here. They asked me, what is your key strength? What is your key area? I was like, I'm very good at timekeeping. You can imagine I'm almost 2 hours late for an interview. And I'm now saying 2 hours late, I'm good at timekeeping, right? So they all looked at me, they started laughing. I can tell you, that was the end of the interview too. So all that walking came to nothing. So again, the key thing for me here was going back home, reflecting. And then on a Friday morning, got a phone call, answered the phone call. When I answered this phone call, they done an interview. They said they want to do an interview in the afternoon. In the afternoon, about 2 o'clock, had the interview. They asked me, tell me about yourself. So at this point, I came to know what's the best skill to get a job. So they said to me, tell us a bit more about yourself. So I started telling them exactly the things I know, which make sense. And these things were making sense because I had done a reflection on the ones which failed. So after 6 minutes of this phone call interview, they said to me, stop. You are exactly the person we're looking for, and we're going to offer you the job. So at this point in time, this was a contract job, by the way. So they asked me, how much do you want a day? So I can tell you, I don't hide it. At the train company, I was getting £90 a day working for the train. And then these guys said, how much do you want? I said to them, give me 150. And they refused. They said, no, that's not enough. It's too little. At this point, I'm now thinking, what are these guys asking for? So I said to them, give me 250. Again, they said, no, do you want to think about it again? They said, okay, if you're not so sure, we're going to give you free 75 as a starting point. The contract is for 3 months. So I'm thinking, okay, great. So they said to me, can you come and start work on Monday? Come and start work on Monday. And I'm sure some of you are thinking what happened there, right? I'm more than happy to hear from you as well for some of you who want to guess exactly what happened when they told me come and start work on Monday. Anyone, any guesses? what you think happened when they asked me to come and start work on Monday? Notice period, company went bust. Yes. Okay. So in this case here, I was prepared not to serve any notice period at the company, the train company. I was just fed up. I just didn't want anything to do with it. And Ruth, you're correct. I was very scared. So I said to them, I can't start on Monday. I need to hand over some paperwork. And you can start thinking, what paperwork are you handing over for checking people's tickets? So yeah, I said, no, I can't. They said to me, okay, can you come on Tuesday instead? I said, okay, yeah, Tuesday is fine. They said to me, come and start at 10 o'clock. Okay, no problem. So come the weekend, I actually made a train journey to actually see where this place is, because I didn't even know where the place is. So I made a train journey just to have a look over the weekend to make sure I know where I'm going on Tuesday. Come the Tuesday, I got there. They said come at 10 o'clock. 8 o'clock I was there. I said to myself, I need to make an impression, suited and booted. I've never worked in corporate before. I've never worked in an office before. So I'm also suited and booted. Then everyone's just arriving and I'm seeing people wearing t-shirts, jeans. I'm like, am I at the right place or I'm lost? Because I'm now thinking twice. So the hiring manager then arrives about 9 o'clock. He goes, oh, you're too early. You shouldn't have come early. You come at 10 o'clock since it's your first day. I was like, no, don't worry. I just thought I'll come in early so we can get started as soon as we can. So at this point, this job, they said, when they hired, they said to me, I'll be the first line support. So this is a person who looks at problems, which comes in and decide which team should fix these tickets. So the hiring manager, there's about 4 colleagues sitting right behind the desk I'm sitting at. And then the hiring manager says, let's do a quick intro. So at this point here, the manager says, this is our new employee, he's Alex. He's our escalation person. So any issues you have, send it to him, he will fix it. At this point, I can tell you, it was winter, but I started sweating. I was scared. I'm thinking, at that point, I'm thinking, tomorrow I'm not coming back. I cannot be coming here. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, why do you put me in such a place? So I'm thinking, I'm not gonna come back, no way. And then the other 4 guys I'm being introduced to, they're now telling me, we're so happy you're here. We've got so many issues. I'm like, what? Because I don't even know exactly what's happening here. So I got given my password and then they said to me, log in. At this point, like Deji said, I didn't know how to do Control or Delete to be able to log in because I've never had a password on my own laptop. So I did not know what to do. So I sat there for a good 10 minutes trying to figure it out. Eventually, one of the guys said, oh, let's go for a coffee. Like, you know what, let me join for a coffee, have a little break. So went for a break. And then this is where the importance of looking at the screen and reading what's written is important, because Control or Delete, it tells you on the screen. So eventually I figured it. I managed to log in. Once I logged in, where do I go? I don't even know where to go anyway in this instance. So this organization, where I've said I'm meant to start at 10 o'clock, I've arrived at 9 o'clock. Around 10 o'clock, Deji arrives. That's how we met Deji. That's where we work together at this specific organization. So he's arrived and yeah, he's like, oh yeah, good seeing you. If anything, if you need any help or anything, let me know. At this point, I'm thinking, I can't just open up and say, I've got a problem here. So at this point, the full day has finished now. I've been asked to read the security documentation, the induction stuff, no problem. The second day has come. I've decided, you know what? I'm gonna go back. I'm not gonna run away from this. I got there and I've been called on the side by one of the project managers. He says, we have a change request for one of our clients. So this organization was a consultancy, by the way. So they gave me 4 pages of changes they need made to their system. Does any of you here understand the whole concept of dev, test, UAT production? Anyone who understands that concept? If you don't, it's perfectly fine. I came from that way myself. So basically, trying to make your changes, when a change request comes in, you start in the development environment, which is isolated from production. I didn't know where to go at that point myself. So at that specific lunchtime, that day, Deji was like, oh, everyone, let's go for lunch, this and that. I was like, no, I'm okay. I've got loads of work to do. I just need to understand this. So I printed this change request and I want to sit outside on a bench away from the office, and I'm scratching my head. And you know, when you scratch your head, you don't know anything. It does not change anything either. You have to find a way to understand it. So while I'm sitting there at this specific organization, there's also another colleague who worked there. His name is called Elijah. So Elijah was just coming from lunch and he saw me sitting there. He goes, oh, hey bro, you okay? What's up? You seem a bit puzzled or stressed out. What's going on? I said, look, this change request, I've never done it before. And I don't even know where to start. So this is where Elijah came in. Elijah says to me, come, let's go back to the office. We'll go and do it together. So Elijah put his lunch on the side and he came and sat next to me. He took over my mouse. He says, we're gonna go to this environment here. Elijah took my mouse, click, 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 click. After 10 minutes, the change request was complete. And the question is, it was very nice and quick, but the challenge was for me to understand exactly what he did and how he's done it. So spend the rest of the day looking at this environment. Elijah says to me, have a look at exactly what I've done so you can document it. So started looking at it. And then at this point, you're talking about someone who's still new, someone who doesn't know much. There was something they call a stand-up. So for me, I don't even know what a stand-up is anyway at that point. I haven't had the opportunity to even understand what Agile is anyway in the beginning anyway. So I'm thinking, stand up, what are these guys talking about? Is it just a matter of standing up and then sit down and get on with work? So I see everyone now, they're going towards a board. And back then you didn't have DevOps. You didn't have things like Jira. You didn't have things like Planner. Everything was on post-it notes on a board, like not started, in progress, blogged, or completed. So I'm seeing all these things. And then the CTO was actually leading this stand-up. So he's going around everyone. And then it got to me. He's asking me, oh, Alexa, what about yourself? How are you getting on? And I can tell you, because I wasn't even sure what's happening at this point, I said to this guy, I'm having a looking at the system we have at the moment and see what are the best practice we can implement. And one can start laughing and thinking, okay, what best practice do you know? You only knew and you don't know anything. So I carried on with that script for a good 2 or 3 days. Then eventually I realized, okay, it's not working, because the next thing he says to me is, what best practice are you actually looking at? So at this point, started having a lot of sleepless nights, sleeping around 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm up again, because what I started doing at this point was to read as much as I can, to try and digest information, to make sure I absorb as much as I can and be able to speak about it. So at the same time, I didn't desert my mentors, so I kept going back to them, like, look, I have a problem here. How do I tackle the problem? So these mentors became very important, because they were very honest with me. I was like, okay, look, what you're asking here is not a question, because it doesn't make any understanding for anyone even trying to help you out. So started learning the art of asking the right question. Also started mastering the art of actually looking for the stuff online myself. So eventually, yeah, we got there, got a bit more comfortable. And then one of the challenges I faced this organization, like I told you, it was a 3-month contract. So there was a guy who I sat next to. This guy was also an escalation engineer, second line support person. And this guy says to me, like on our way home, he goes like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, you're really a nice guy, but you're not gonna last that long here, you're not good enough. So I looked at this guy, I was like, listen, you don't know what I have. I have a lot to offer than yourself, you'll find out. So at this point, I'm just giving myself confidence. So it kind of pushed me to go home to prove a point to this guy. So as time went on, this guy who was saying I won't last, so he's there, we're actually sitting next to each other. And then after the 3 months is finished, the HR lady and my hiring manager called me into the office right early in the morning, about 9:30. Said, oh, Alex, can you come in the office? We need to have a chat with you. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, that's the end of it because the contract is finished anyway. So I went in there and they said, oh, you know what? We're really pleased with the work you're doing and we want to make you permanent here. At this point, I could not believe it. So I did ask them 3 times. I was like asking them, are you serious? What are you actually saying? Are you being serious or are you winding me up? Because I could not believe it, because it was really a challenging few months, but it was just more of driving and trying as much. So as time went on, became perm on the 4th month. I've now been assigned some clients. So this organization at this point, they had about 72 clients globally. So I've now assigned a few of their clients. So some of them organizations like Citco Fund Services, Morgan Stanley. This was a financial consultants organization. I can tell you one of the things I did here, which everyone and all of you here will need to learn from as well as you go along into your careers. I was given a task to delete 2 items from their system. But what I did at this point, I deleted the whole database. And you're talking about the impact of deleting their whole data for a financial organization. So I started getting emails from the product owner from this specific organization. They're saying, oh, Alex, we seem to be losing almost everything at this moment in time. Do you know what's happening? So at this moment in time, I just said, let me have a look. But what was important for me here was to put my hand up. So I said to my colleagues, I said, look, I've made a mistake and I've pressed delete here. Do we have a backup? So thankfully, there was a backup which was there. So we restored the backup, and the whole honesty idea here also helped me to keep my job. So I didn't get fired for it. So again, it was a learning curve for me. So as time went on, the CTO then said, oh, Alex, we need to give you a bit more responsibilities into 3rd line. So at this point, I'm now kind of looking at the servers, Active Directory, Exchange, setting up the environments, having that direct interaction with some of their big clients, looking at requirements, actually implementing those requirements, estimating exactly the work, and also engaging the developers and ensuring the stories created, they also meet the definition of ready now for the testers. And Deji was the head of testing at that specific organization. So it was always helpful for me because I could always go to Deji and say, okay, does that make sense? And I'll get the help. So I think I mentioned earlier, Deji invited me for lunch. So this moment in time, I got another invite from Deji. Let's go for lunch, Alex. And I can tell you, this organization was in central London, and lunch is not cheap. So this moment in time, I've gone for lunch, and then we are ordering. So I've ordered a portion of chips. This portion of chips costed me about £5. Just chips alone, no drink, nothing. So we're sat there on the table, everyone has ordered. And then now we're finished our chips. And I can tell you, It's not the big portion you would think it's a big, it's a very small portion. I'm still hungry. I'm thinking to myself, I should have gone to Tesco and got a meal deal. I would have been much better off with that. So at the end of it, Deji pulls out his card to pay for everyone. So at that point, I'm thinking I should have ordered a bigger meal. I should have enjoyed myself. So again, it just shows how nice Deji is, because there was about 10 of us and Deji paid for everyone. But yeah, the lesson for me at this point, I should have just asked the question. I said, okay, look, is it being paid for? But again, I didn't ask. But again, it's one of those stories you see. So for everyone, I always recommend for you all to just be open, just speak, just feel free to speak to everyone. And that's how people can help you as well. So while with this company here, like I told you, one of my weaknesses, I get to a point where I get bored and I have to do something. So when I mean getting bored, when I don't feel challenged, I tend to kind of look for something else. So eventually I started doing interviews. And when I was doing interviews, I was a bit scared. I have to be honest with you. So when I was a bit scared, I thought to myself, what's the next plan? I went back to this company I'm working for. I said, look, guys, I need a pay rise here. What can you give me? So they gave me a pay rise. At that point, I think they gave me about £5,000 additional pay rise. I'm happy. But this moment in time, Deji has now left the organization. He's gone to new pastures. Elijah, who was there, who helped me the first change request, is also left. So Elijah called me one of the days. He says, oh, you know what? Are you still at that place? You need to leave. You now know quite a lot of things and you can do much better. So when I'm like, Elijah, I see you like my brother. Why do you want me to lose all this I have here? At this company, they had Fanta, Coca-Cola, alcohol in the kitchen. You can drink whenever you want. I'm thinking, yeah, I can retire here. It's not a problem. So I said to Elijah, look, I don't want to leave this place. I feel at home at this place. So that was the end of the conversation with Elijah. So about 2 weeks later, Elijah called me again. He goes, oh, do you mind if I have a look at your CV? So Elijah, I sent my CV to Elijah. Elijah started applying for jobs on my behalf. So I started sending CVs to recruiters. And then I managed to get a phone call from one of the recruiters, and they wanted to arrange an interview. So I'm thinking, okay, let's do it. So went for the interview. So the first interview, like I said, when I got this job, it was 6 minutes. This one was a phone call interview for an hour, 30 minutes. And they were asking me different scenarios. And because at this point now, I have a little bit of confidence. I have an answer, and which is the right answer for what they're asking me. They said, okay, we like what you're telling us. Can you come to our offices next week for a face-to-face final interview? I'm not really sure if I want to leave this place I'm working. So I said, no. I have a project I need to complete, so I can't do next week. They said, when can you do it? 2 weeks time. And you can realize the market moves so quick. This organization says, okay, that's not a problem. We'll wait for you in 2 weeks, come to the interview. And they say the interview is from 10 o'clock in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. One of the longest interviews I've ever had. So took a day off at this company, then went for this interview. 10 o'clock, I'm there. The first part of the interview, we're talking about family, like how many kids do you have? What do you do in your spare time? Nothing to do with IT, nothing to do with the dynamic stuff I know. That's first hour gone. Then the next 30 minutes from there were about 5 of them in this interview. The other guy started asking me where I went to school, what football team do I support, started asking me about the history about football. So I'm finding it now really weird. I'm thinking, what's this all about? Then eventually we got the final hour of these 4 hours. And in that final hour, they brought up a screen of Dynamics 365. They started asking me questions. They say, can you hold that mouse? can you tell us where to go within our system here? Can you tell us why you do things like customizations in terms of dynamics? So this point, I'm more versed in all these things. So I've shown them. And then after the interview, I'm walking down the escalator, and the hiring manager came to the escalator. He goes, I'm not gonna bother calling your agency. I'm just gonna tell you now, we're gonna offer you the job. I said, okay, great, let's do it. So the agency then got the phone call that I got the job. And then now they're saying to me, when can you start? So I can tell you, it took me 2 months for me to leave the company I was working at, because I felt like I was part of the furniture. It felt like home for me, and it felt like I owed them something, but I didn't. So eventually, yeah, left, went to this organization. And what was important for me was to keep improving. So I never settled down and said, okay, yeah, I've got another job. It's fine, no problem. So I started looking a lot online, reading stuff. And also, that's how I also managed to keep in touch with Deji up to now, is because we're always communicating. And in some cases, I reach out to him and say, oh, Deji, I'm thinking of doing something like this. What are your thoughts on it? So it's the importance of also building those important networks. So we have Deji, Elijah, still speak to him. So most of the people I've worked with myself, I still speak to them. So it's very important to keep those connections, because you always learn something from them, and at the same time, they're always there to support you as well. So I started going to Microsoft events, started looking and see, okay, what is it someone is doing better I can improve on? So started looking, started going, trying new things at home. So I never said, okay, I'm at work here, I just need to focus on work. I started kind of looking outside the box. What else can I do more? So at one point I said to myself, let me go and do an exam. So yeah, did a lot of reading, lots of reading. I don't even know the exam setup. So fortunately, I failed the exam the first time. And one of the things here, which was very good for me, even though I failed, it kind of gave me a measure of what I need to improve on. So if you fail an exam, never feel like, okay, oh, that's really bad. It's a very big opportunity for you to reflect and to improve on some specific areas. So as time went on, I then decided to go freelance. I just thought to myself, you know what, let me go freelance, and I'll look at different challenges every single time. So went freelance, but one of the things which I'm very passionate about, and where I came from in terms of starting from Facebook, I started the journey on Facebook, and at the same time, like I said, being from Zimbabwe originally, I came from Zimbabwe, from a village which didn't have any TV, no internet. So for me, my first experience with a computer or TV was when I arrived in the UK. So I'm very passionate about helping people in the Black ethnic minorities. So one of the things I started doing is to reach out. If someone messages me, or if I see an opportunity, I'm very happy to promote those initiatives. And that's why I'm very happy to be invited here, and also to see so many of you as well on that journey. So as time went on, I've had a few sessions with Blue Sky, trying to share the little bit of knowledge I know about dynamics, and also to help people prepare for interviews. One of the things here, you might ask, okay, how did you prepare for interviews from not having the experience? So one of the things here is you need to be hungry. So I'm saying hungry because I'm pretty sure most of us here, we eat food or drink something, right? So you need, the way you feel when you're thirsty, the way you feel when you want food is the same way you need to feel when you're looking for these jobs. So just be fearless. If you're not so sure, like I said, when I started, I didn't have the opportunity to have something like an internship like this. You have an amazing platform here with Blue Sky. And for some of you, if you need any, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn. In some cases, I might take a day or so to reply because I get very, very busy nowadays, but I will definitely reply to you. When you go to an interview, also please do write some notes down for you to reflect, to say, okay, I've done this better. What can I do different next time? Or what can I improve? One of the things I can tell you is none of us here, including myself, are perfect. There's things we definitely can always improve all the time. So I can give you criticism and say, okay, you can do this better, but the person ultimately who's in the driving seat is yourself. So one of the other things as well is once you get into the job, it's very important, especially in the first few days, to understand your surroundings. Who is the key person you can speak to, and who is a key person who can see how much you are dedicated to what you need to achieve. Why is that important? Is that key person normally holds the keys to say, okay, if it's a contract, we're going to extend this person. If it's probation for a permanent role, that person passes probation. So once you arrive in a job, please do remember to open your eyes and say, okay, who is key here? And when I mean who is key, that person will always help you going forward. And in most cases, if that person happens to leave that organization, in some cases, they can always call you and say, okay, look, are you coming along? Are you available? Do you want to work? And at the same time, you can all see this tool here on the screen, which is LinkedIn. It is a very, very powerful tool. Reason I say that the algorithm behind LinkedIn also looks at interactions. So when I mean interactions, how many likes you have clicked on the content, which is either relevant in your field, comments you have had on it. And then when they start doing this job search, the engine itself, in some organizations, they use something called LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which basically draws all the skills people have. It then brings the data about their interactions. And believe it or not, the interactions could be very useless, but that engine they use helps you to be in that category of people they're going to contact. So in most cases, it might be someone, for example, who's a Scrum Master. It could be a business analyst, could be a tester, it could be a consultant, it could be solution architect, whichever role it is, try and have those interactions. Again, you have a very good, easy example here. Deji and also the Blue Sky Citadel team, they do share some of the sessions which the school is doing. Why don't you engage with those posts? When the posts engage with it, or in some cases also share what you've learned. The only way people know that you exist is you interacting with them. And at the same time, if you get the opportunity to attend other events, try to connect with some of the people there. Why is it important? In my case, I've had experiences where I've met people and they just said to me, oh, hi, how's it going? Can you take my details, and whenever you're available for work, let me know. And I've got work that way without interviews. But again, it's all just because of an interaction. So it's very, very important to do that. And at the same time, while interactions are important, always be willing to raise your hand and say, look, I don't get it. There's nothing wrong in you saying you don't get it than you causing damage to an organization. When I mean damage is either you're doing something which does not meet what they're expecting from you. So people are willing to help if you ask the question, right? So I think I've been speaking a lot. Is there any questions from anyone, or anyone might want me to explain anything a bit more? Please feel free to unmute yourself or to even put something in the chat window. I hope I haven't put you all to sleep by just talking too much, right? Is everyone still here?
Yeah.
Yes,
We are
yes.
here. We are here. We are here.
Okay, awesome.
We
Awesome.
are here.
Yeah, so I'm more than happy to take any questions anyone might have. And for anyone who wishes to look at my details, these are my details. I'll just put on the screen. So if you scan this code here, it will take you to my LinkedIn profile. But these are my details where you can find me. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to ask. It's not a problem at all. I'm more than happy to help.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep. So that's all from me. So please share experience when you were sacked, chased from any of your